Hello everyone. So let us start the new chapter, that is neural control and coordination. So we all know that all the life processes, all the functions of the human body are basically coordinated with each other. So like the heart beating is coordinated with the supplying of the blood to the different parts. It is coordinated with the excretory system. Digestion system is also coordinated. So all of these functions are coordinated with each other. Okay. So we can say the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another is called as coordination. What is coordination? It's a process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another is called coordination. Okay. So when two or more than two organs are interacting with each other in the form of providing the different type of secretions like hormones and all that, okay, and when they complement the functions of both each other, then it's called as coordination. So in humans particularly in humans, we can say the coordination is carried out by two different systems. In humans, this coordination is carried out by two different systems, that is endocrine system and the nervous system. Endocrine system and nervous system, this both together jointly coordinate and integrate all the activities of different other organs in synchronized fashion. So this nervous system and endocrine system are responsible for coordinating and integrating all the activities of different other organs in a synchronized fashion. So the nervous system is responsible for rapid transmission of the stimuli. So when we compare this nervous system and endocrine system, let us see. Nervous system is responsible for rapid transmission. It means the transmission of the message will be occurring in a very fast manner. So it is responsible for rapid transmission of the stimuli. So what is stimuli? Stimuli is any external changes which can be perceived by body. So suppose any external changes is occurring, so that has to be perceived by body, and this perceiveness, this is basically possible due to the nervous system, and it will be transmitted through the body in a very fast manner in the case of nervous system. Now this nervous system will be responsible for perceiving or transmission of this stimuli by forming electrochemical signals. So this transmission of this impulses will be transmission of the messages, or we can say transmission of these impulses will be occurring by electrochemical signals in the case of nervous system, okay, which are short-lived and very specific. So these electrochemical signals which are produced during the transmission of the impulses in the nervous system will be very short-lived. It would not be basically there for a longer duration. It would be for microseconds and even for milliseconds, even for the microseconds as well. And that will be very short-lived and very specific, very specific in nature. Okay. And apart from this, when we see our endocrine system, so endocrine system consists of the different glands and the hormones, endocrine glands and the hormones. So what are hormones? So hormones are the chemicals by which chemicals signals. Hormones are the chemical messengers. Hormones are the chemical messengers which are secreted at one part of body, and which acts on the another part of body called as target organ. Okay, so what are hormones? Hormones are some chemical messengers which are secreted in very low amount, and are acting on another part of organ called as target organ. Okay, now this endocrine system will be releasing the hormones directly into the blood without any duct system, and hence they are called as endocrine in nature. We will discuss exactly about the endocrine system in the next chapter. We have got a whole chapter for this. Okay, so what is endocrine system? The system consists of the hormones and the glands and the hormones. Okay, and these hormones are chemical messengers which are secreted in a very low amount into the blood directly, and this will be traveling into blood and will be acting on a target organs. Okay, now the response of these hormones, comparatively we see the hormones will be showing slow transmission. So when we compare with the nervous system, the coordination which is taken care by the endocrine system is comparatively slow in nature, but again it will be also specific. Okay, it is very specific in nature. The hormones that travels through the bloodstream and act on the target organs. And the response of these hormones is long lasting comparative to nervous system, where the response is very short lived for a very short duration. But in the case of hormones, the response of the hormones will be for a long period. Okay, so we can say it's long lasting and very widespread. It would be not very specific at a particular region, it would be widespread throughout the body as well in some cases. Okay, so that was about the coordination which is carried out with the help of nervous system and the hormones. Okay, now when we see the multicellular animals above the level of sponges, about the level, we will be discussing about the nervous system particularly. Okay, so when we see the nervous system is mainly found in the animals, okay, and in the case of plants, the exactly nervous system is not found. The nervous system and the different organs associated with the nervous systems are not found in the different kingdoms apart from the animal. Okay, but still in the case of animal as well, the multicellular animals above the level of sponges, so it is found in the mainly the animals which are above the level of sponges, in the complex animal we can say. So what is nervous system? How can we define it? How can we define this nervous system? So it can be defined as a system meant to perceive stimulus. It's a system meant to perceive the stimulus detected by the receptors, and which will be transmitting this to various body parts and to effect responses through the effectors. Okay, so here we can say a nervous system is a system which will be perceiving the stimuli. So what is stimuli? You already know. There are different type of stimuli: thermal stimuli, photo stimulus. Okay, where change in light, change in temperature, change in pressure, change in chemical concentration. So these different type of stimulus can be perceived by body by a specific type of structures called as receptors present on the epithelial cells. Through the sensory organs. Okay, so the nervous system is meant to perceive the stimuli detected by receptors, which will be transmitted to the various body parts, so that the proper effect is basically given. A proper response is basically provided through effectors. So we have got three things, that is receptors, then the transmission of those stimulus, okay, and then we got effectors. Okay, so we'll discuss the whole functioning of nervous system as well. Okay, so now it is comparatively in invertebrates. In the case of invertebrates, the nervous system is not that much advanced. In the case of invertebrates, it is not that much advanced. Okay, but in the case of vertebrates, it is highly specialized and plays at least three vital roles, which are following. So in the case of vertebrates, the nervous system is highly specialized and plays at least three vital roles, which are the one. First one is the sensory function. So in the case of higher complex organisms, the invertebrate particularly, the nervous system is responsible for carrying out these three main functions. What are these? First is the sensory function. So when we say sensory functions, the nervous system is responsible for senses the certain changes. So write it down. What are the sensory functions? So the nervous system is responsible for sensing the different changes which are occurring outside the body, that is external environment, and even inside the body, that is the internal environment. Okay, so write down sensory function. It is the process by which the certain changes which is taking place outside the body, that is external environment, like the change in temperature, like the change in concentration of the chemical, change in the pH, okay, change in the pressure. So this can be perceived, this can be sensed by the different, this stimuli can be sensed by this sensory function. So external environment as well as the internal environment. So sensory function is certain changes which are perceived or which are sensed by the external which are changes which are taking place inside the environment, inside the body, and outside the body, that is internal and external environment, which will be perceived by the sensory organs. Okay, so this sensory organs will be having a specific type of proteins on the membrane of cells, on the epithelial membrane of the cells, which are called as receptor proteins. These receptor proteins will be perceiving these changes in stimuli, and then it will be relate to the different parts of the body. Next function of the nervous system apart from sensory function is the integrative function. What is it? It is a integrative function. So integrative functions is to it's basically to analyze the sensory information. It is to analyze the sensory information. So whatever the sensory information is basically received from the different receptors or different sense organs will be analyzed, has to be analyzed. Okay, so this has to be analyzed, that which part has to, it should be relate to. Okay, then this in some cases it may be stored, in some cases like the experience what we basically feel are stored in a memory form. Okay, so this is something, a function of the integrative functionary of the nervous system. So in the integrative functions, the senses which basically receive this information will be analyzed, or it can sometimes stored, and upon this analysis, and upon this analysis what we do, we can make decision regarding the appropriate behavior. Okay, so integrative functions of the nervous system includes the analyzing the information carried out which is obtained from the sensory nervous system, sensory function. So it's analysis of the information, and even sometimes storing this information, and based on this information the making of decisions regarding the appropriate behavior at particular time. So this is taken care by the integrative function. The last one is the motor function. So motor function, it may respond to stimuli by initiating a muscular contraction or glandular secretion. So whatever the stimuli is basically present, maybe outside the body or maybe inside the body, depending on that, sometimes the body may require to initiate a specific muscular contraction or glandular secretion. So depending on the type of the stimuli, the body may require initiating a specific muscular contraction, or in the case of, like, suppose we are touching a hot pan, so I will have to remove that hand immediately from that particular place. Okay, so that's basically a muscular movement. Okay, similarly the glandular secretion under specific condition, when I'm facing a very fearful situation, so at that time the adrenal gland which is present on the kidney will be starting its secretion. Okay, so that even this glandular secretion is also carried out with the help of nervous system. So altogether we can say the nervous system is responsible for mainly three functions, that is sensory function, sensing the different stimuli. Next is the integrative function, analyzing, storing, and based on that making the behavior pattern. And the third one is the motor functions, by which the body can respond by contracting the muscular and glandular secretions. Okay, so that was about by initiating the muscular and glandular secretion. That was about the different functions of the nervous system. Okay, next is the nervous system, different type of how the various animals are basically having the nervous system. Okay, so let us see nervous systems in various animals. Okay, so as we know that nervous system is basically made up of a specific structural and functional unit. The structural and functional unit of the nervous system is called a neuron. So what is neuron? The neuron is a structural and functional unit of the nervous system. It is the one by which all the activities and all the functions of nervous system are basically carried out. So neural system of animals is composed of highly specialized cells which are called as neurons. How does it function? So which can detect, receive, and transmit the different kinds of stimuli. So this is something important. So what is the function of neuron, particularly individually we can say? So neuron is a structural and functional unit of nervous system, and these are responsible for detecting, it means sensing. Okay, so they are responsible for detecting, receiving, and transmitting the different kinds of stimuli. So it is responsible for detecting the information, receiving them, and then transmitting it to different parts of the body. Okay, this is the main function of the neuron. Now the neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. When we say in the lower invertebrates like the sponges and hydra, okay, so there the neural organization is not that much complex. It is not that much highly complex. Okay, like in the case of hydra, it is composed of only the network of neurons. A few neurons will be forming a network, and that will be making its nervous system. So over there, specifically advanced or complicated structures like brain and spinal cords are not present. So you can say in the case of invertebrates, the network of neurons are present, which will be which would be which would be forming a simple simple neural network. Okay, so we can say simple neural organization compared to the higher vertebrates. Well, when we say some insects which are comparatively a bit complicated compared to the lower invertebrates like the hydra, so insects like the grasshopper, like the cockroaches, so this arthropoda will be having a bit a bit of better organized nervous system. So in the case of insects, the neural system is better organized compared to the lower invertebrates, where the brain is present along with a number of ganglia and neural tissue. So now in the case of lower animals like hydra and sponges, we had seen it was only composed of some neural networks, while when we see a bit of complex organisms like the arthropoda, over there we can see the presence of structures like brain. Okay, not a highly developed brain, but still we can say there will be a structure called as brain, and along with that there will be some ganglia means the accumulation or the lump of the neurons is called as lump of neurons. Okay, so there will be presence of brain and ganglia, and the neural tissues will be present, which will be distributed throughout the body. Okay, so that is about the a bit complex structure, that is insects. While the vertebrates which is the most complex organisms or the most complex animals particularly, have got a more developed form of nervous system, which will be consisting the central nervous system and then peripheral nervous system. Okay, so it will be a very complicated and sophisticated nervous system is found in the developed organisms like the vertebrates. Okay, so that was about the different type of nervous system, a different level of nervous system found in different hierarchy of animals. So that was about that. Now let us start with the nerve. Okay, so before starting the nerve, we should be understanding the neuron first of all. So as we have seen, what is neuron? So neuron is a structural and functional unit of nervous system responsible for detecting, transmitting and receiving the stimulus. Okay, and now let us see the structure of this neuron. Let us discuss the structure of this neuron. Okay, so a neuron is a cell which has got a lot of branches. We will see that there are many branches present in neurons. Okay, so neuron is a nerve cell with a lot of branches present in it, which are originating from its cell body. We will see that. Now the neuron is formed from the neuroblast. So the cells which are responsible for formation of neurons, are called as neuroblast. You may note it down. Okay, so what are neuroblasts? Neuroblasts are those cells from which the neurons are formed. Okay, and we can understand it's a structural and functional unit of nervous system. It is the longest cell of body. Write it down. It is the longest cell of body. Okay, now let us discuss the different structures of the neuron. Let us see different structures of neuron. So here, this is the structure of neuron. You would have seen and you would have studied it many times. Let us discuss it once again so that it will be revising your concepts. So the structures of neuron will be consisting of many parts. The main parts are basically this cytone and this axon. So let us start with the cytone. So this is the part which is called as cytone. This globular structure having a lot of branches on its surface is called as cytone. Okay, so what is cytone? Cytone is also called as perikaryon, soma or cell body. So cytone is also called as perikaryon. It is also called as perikaryon, soma or cell body. Okay, note it down. It is also called as perikaryon, soma or cell body. Now it is granular in nature. It means it will be composed of many granules. Which will be discussing the function later on. Okay, so it will be composed of many granules, and hence it is called as granular cytoplasm, or it can also be called as neuroplasm. Okay, so what is cytone? Cytone is the main cell body of a neuron cell, which is also called as perikaryon, cell body, soma, or also called as will be consisting of the granular cytoplasm, which is also called as neuroplasm, which is also called as neuroplasm. Okay, so keep it in mind, neuroplasm is the cytoplasm or the fluid present in this cytone, while the cytone can be considered the structure of the, we can say, this head region of this neuron. Okay, now this cytone will be comparatively a large in size when we compare the whole size of neuron. So in this whole neuron, the only part which is comparatively larger in size, which is bulby and which is observable easily, is a cytone. Okay, so we can say it's large in size and spherical in nature. It is basically spherical in nature. When we see in a three-dimensional structure, it will be spherical in nature, right? Now this cytone will be having a nucleus present in its center. So we can say it has got centrally placed nucleus with a single. So in the case of neurons, as we had seen in the case of muscles may have multiple nuclei present in a single cell. Okay, but in the case of neuron, it is not same. In the case of neuron, a single cytone will be having a single nucleus. A single cytone will be having single nucleus, which will be lying most of the time in the center of this cytone, which will lying most of the time in the center of this cytone. Okay, now from this body of cell, from this cell body or from this cytone, numerous fine threads, these are the fine threads like structures are basically arising. These are the thread like structures which are arising. Okay, and numerous of these fine threads will be rising. Here basically it's not shown that many number, but still exactly in real situation there will be a lot of such type of threads will be rising, and these threads are called as neurofibrils. So what are neurofibrils? Neurofibrils are the fine threads arising from the surface of the cytone. These are the neurofibrils, are the fine threads arising from the surface of the cytone. So these are responsible for, these are the filamentous, or we can say it's a filamentous extensions of the cell membrane. It's a filamentous extension of cell membrane containing the fluid as well. Okay, so these are filamentous extensions of the cell membrane, which are called as neurofibrils. You may note it down. Okay, these are filamentous extension of the cell membrane called as neurofibrils. These are the one, this filamentous neurofibrils are the one which are responsible for conduction of nerve impulses. Note it down. So these are the neurofibrils. These are the neurofibrils which are responsible for conduction of nerve impulses. So whenever the nerve impulses are generated at one place, this generation of nerve impulses and that's conduction of this nerve impulse from one place to another is also carried out by this neurofibrils. Okay, so about I hope that's clear to you. Next, a number of small basophilic granules. So as we had seen in the case of neuroplasm, it is basically granular in nature. Okay, so what all these granules are made up of? So a number of small basophilic granules. Basophilic granules means they will be getting stained by the basic dyes. Okay, so these are the basophilic granules called Nissls granules. So these are the granules you can see red in color. These are called as Nissls granules. So these Nissls granules are formed of RER. These Nissl granules are formed of RER, that is rough endoplasmic reticulum, with ribosome and the site of photosynthesis. So these Nissl granules are mainly the ribosomes which are present in the cytone. These are nothing but mostly the ribosomes present in cytoplasm, and these ribosomes are the one which are responsible for carrying out the photosynthesis, and they will be forming a granular cytoplasm when they are present on the endoplasmic reticulum, and hence making them as a rough endoplasmic reticulum, RER. Okay, so there will be a number of such type of small granules present inside the inside the cytoplasm of the neuron. Next, neuroplasm has a large number of mitochondria. So apart from these Nissl granules, which is made up of the ER, the neuroplasm will be also consisting of large number of mitochondria. Now we know what is the function of mitochondria. It is mainly responsible for production of ATP and hence providing the energy. Okay, so the whole process of transmitting this neuron impulse, or the whole process of transmitting this nerve impulse requires a lot of energy, will be requiring a lot of energy, which is provided by the mitochondria present in this neuroplasm. Okay, so you have to note it down. So neuroplasm will be also having large number of mitochondria, which is responsible for providing the energy to this cell, so that proper impulse conduction can be obtained. Okay, next, the neuroplasm may have melanophores. So now this neuroplasm will be having some specific, at some site, some sites they will be having some structures called as melanophores. We can say melanophores. Here we can see these melanophores are the one which will be having melanin pigment. So in the case this cytoplasm will be also having, sometime it may have melanophores which will be consisting melanin pigment. We know what melanin is. Okay, so the one which is responsible for protection from the UV rays as well. So they will be containing this melanin pigment, and sometime it may also have lipochromes which are having yellow or orange pigment. Okay, so that was about the cytone. What are cytones? Let us discuss about them again. Okay, something more about that, a bit of more information regarding cytone. The cytone, let us discuss it once again. So the neuron processes, the cytone is also called as perikaryon or soma or cell body containing the neuroplasm. Okay, containing the neuroplasm, and which will be having single nucleus. Okay, now the extensions, the filamentous extensions or fine thread-like structures arising from this cytone are called as neurofibrils. Okay, we have seen that. And this neuroplasm will be containing the basophilic granules, called as Nissel's granules, which are nothing but the ribosome associated with the endoplasmic reticulum and responsible for carrying out the photosynthesis. Responsible for carrying out the formation of ATP by respiration particularly, and it will be by the protein synthesis. Okay, so this granules will be responsible for carrying out the protein synthesis, not photosynthesis. It will be protein synthesis. Okay, now this cytoplasm of the cytone will be consisting a large number of mitochondria, so that they can help out in the production of ATP and get the energy properly. Okay, now they will be also having melanophores responsible for secretion of melanin, and lipochromes for the secretion of the orange and yellow pigments. Okay, that was about the cytone. Now the mature neuron has no centriole, and we know what the role of centriole. The centriole is the one which is responsible for carrying out the cell division into two equal halves. Okay, so the mature neuron will not be having any centriole. So it means that these cells will not be able to divide. So these neurons will be not able to divide. Okay, once they get matured, these cells, so when they get mature, they will be not getting divided. Okay, now this, in the case of male, a specific structure called Barr body is also, in the case of females, a specific structure called as Barr body is also often observed. What is Barr body? So in the case of females, the females will be having two X chromosomes. You would also have studied the same concept in the cell biology as well, in the structure of cell as well. What is the Barr body? So Barr body, when the normally females will be having two X chromosome. So out of this two X chromosome, the one of the X chromosome will be transformed into non-functional structure, or we can say it will be converted. It will be transformed into non-functional X chromosome, and this non-functional X chromosome will be observed as a dark spot within the nucleus, which is called as Barr body. So mind it, the Barr body is only present in the females. It is not observed in the males. Why? Because the male will not be consisting two X chromosomes. Okay, so that is about the cytone, we have discussed about the cytone. Okay, now let us revise further. So what is cytone? Perikaryon soma cell body, single nucleus present in it, neural fibrils, the filamentous extension, having basophilic granules called as Nissel's granules, responsible for the protein synthesis, and it consists large number of mitochondria for ATP production. Has got melanophores and lipochromes responsible for pigment melanin and the different yellow and orange color pigments. And mature neuron cannot divide because it does not have central, and the female will be having a Barr body present in it. Okay, that's all about the cytone. Next is the neuron processes. Let us see the neuron processes. Okay, so as we have seen from the single cytone, from this cytone, the lot of fibrous fine thread-like structure arising, the filamentous extensions of this membrane. So these are called as neural processes. These are called as here also you can see the short fibrils are arising. There are short extensions, while at this place a long extension, slender extension is basically observed. Okay, so the cytone will be arising. From the cytone there are different type of cytoplasmic extensions are arising, which are called as neural processes, or we can say neuron processes. So the processes of neurons called as neurites. So these are called as neurites. Okay, note it down. So what are this cytoplasmic extensions of the neural, or we can neural processes are called as neurites, Now this may be of varying distances. From the cytone, and are of mainly two types depending on their length. Okay, these are of two types, that is dendrites, or we can say dendrons. So these are the one which is shorter is called dendrites, or it may be a longer slender structure or single one, that is the axon, or we can see this axis cylinder, or we can say neuraxon. Okay, so there are two type of neural processes. What are neural processes? These are the cytoplasmic extensions of the membrane into different directions. This will be multiple in nature. Now these extensions are called as neurites. These neurites can be of again two types, that is dendrites, or we can say the axons. Dendrites can also be called as dendrons, while the axon can also be called as neuraxon or axis cylinder. Okay, so let us start the two types of dendron. The two type of neurites are the first one is dendron or dendrite, and the second one is axon, dendrite or axon. So let us start with the dendron. So dendrons are basically short, right here. These are the dendrites, or we can say dendrons. Okay, so these dendrites are comparatively very short. It's basically short and multiple in nature. They are multiple. Write it down. So what are the main characteristic of the dendrites? They are, first of all, they are multiple. The dendrites are multiple and short in length. Okay, they will have multiple, short, and tapering with much branch processes. So here we can say they are tapered, they are not pointed particularly, and they are having lot of branches present. Apart from here in the diagram, we won't be able to see lot of branches, but when we see a real neuron, it will be having a lot of branches. Okay, so these dendrites are basically short, multiple, and having a lot of branch processes. Now this dendrite contains the neurofibrils, neurotubules, okay, and nasal granules and mitochondria. So this will be consisting this granules also, this will be consisting this mitochondria also, and they will consisting neurotubules, neurofibrils and the neurotubules also. We will be discussing about the neurofibril and the neurotubules later on. Okay, so the dendrons will be consisting these nasal granules which are present in the cytoplasm of the neuron cytone. Okay, and it will be also consisting the mitochondria. Okay, now they are responsible for conducting nerve impulse towards the cell. This is important. Okay, so these dendrites are the part, or are the processes which are responsible for conducting nerve impulses towards the cell, towards the cells. So these impulses can move in two directions, that is away from this cytone, away from this cell, or it can move towards the cell. So these dendrites are the structures which are responsible for movement of these impulses towards the cell. These dendrons are the structures that are responsible for movement of these impulses towards the cell. Okay, so here we can again revise. So neuron processes called as neurites, and this can be of two types, that is dendron and axon. So dendrons are called as dendrites, which contains neurofibrils, neurotubules, nasal granules and mitochondria, and this. Okay, so they will be conducting the impulses towards the cell. Okay, so that was about the neurites, or we can say dendrites, and next is the axon. Okay, so let us see these axons. Okay, now axons are single. They are not multiple. They are not multiple like the dendrites. Okay, these axons are single, very long. They are single, very long, and cylindrical processes. They are single, very long, and having uniform diameter. They are single in nature, single number, and longer in the length. When we can compare to the dendrites, it is comparatively more longer, and the diameter is uniform. So right from here to here, we can see the diameter of this axon is almost same. So it arises from the conical projection. So here you can see over here, this forms a conical projection from the site at which it is getting originated. It will form a conical structure. Form a conical structure, and this conical structure is called as axon hillock. Okay, so it is arising from a conical structure which is called as conical axon. conical axon hillock. Okay, it can call as axon hillock. So when this arises from the axon hillock, it will be having a slender thin fiber. It contains a slender thin fiber which is single in nature, cylindrical, and having a uniform diameter. Okay, now these axons contains neurofibrils and neurotubules. Similar to dendrite, they will be containing these neurofibrils and the neurotubules, but will not be having nasal granules. So nasal granules are absent. You can note it down. These nasal granules are absent. Okay, so the axons are basically a slender structure, uniform diameter, single in nature, with having neurofibrils and neurotubules, but will not be having nasal granules. Okay, now axon is usually branched only at terminal site. So here we can see the dendrites are very much branched, but comparatively these axons are not highly branched, and they will be branched only at the terminal site. Into slender branches called as telodendria. So here we can see, once this axon filament is basically formed, after a particular time, it will be having this slender branches present at its terminal. And these branches are called as telodendra. These branches which are present at the terminal region are called as telodendra. Okay, now this telodendra will be having the knobbed ends. So here you can see these are at the terminal region they will be having a structure forming a knob-like structure. These are called as knob-like end, called as end bulbs or axon terminals. So these axons will be having the branches at the terminal region which are called as telodendra, and this will be terminating into forming a bulbous structures, or we can say knob-like structure called as terminal axon terminals or end bulbs, or we can say synaptic knobs or end plates. Okay, these are the main region which will be responsible for conducting the impulses from one neuron to another neuron. Okay, so we're discussing them as well. So that is about the axon. So what all we have seen in axon, so let us discuss. So axon is single in nature, single in number, and very long compared to dendrite. So when we compare it with the dendrite, it is longer in length. Okay, there's cylindrical processes of having uniform diameter. So right from beginning to the end, the diameter of the axon will be almost similar. Okay, it will be not branched as in the case of dendrite, so it will not be highly branched. It arises from a conical region of it's forming a junction between the cytone and the axon. That's called axon hillock. Okay, it will be arising from the axon hillock, and this will be having the neurofibrils. The axon will be consisting the neurofibrils and neurotubules, but will lack nasal granules. It will be lacking this nasal granules. Okay, and comparatively mitochondria will not be in that number. It will be present, but it will not in that number. Now this axon is usually branched only at terminal region, and they will branch into slender branches called as telodendria. They will branch into slender small branches called as telodendria, and this telodendria will be ending with the specific structure called bulb-like structure called as end bulbs, or we can say axon terminals or synaptic knobs. We will see what the synaptic word signifies. Okay, so this will be ending into end bulbs, axon terminals, or synaptic knobs, or we can say end plates. Okay, and these synaptic knobs contains mitochondria and secretory vesicles. These synaptic knobs are the one where the mitochondria will be high in amount and will be also consisting the secretory vesicles. Vesicles are that particular packets into which some chemicals will be stored. Okay, so in the next topics we will be discussing how this will be functioning as well. That was about the neural structure. So we are done with the neuron structure containing the dendrites and the axon. This structure, that is the Schwann cells and the myelin sheath, nodes of Ranvier, these all structures will be discussed later on as well in particular topics. Okay, so that was about the neuron structure. That was about the structure of neuron. Now the next one is the types of neuron. Next is the type of neurons. So neurons can be classified into different types on different bases. It can be classified into different types on different bases. So first, on the basis of the functions, what function this neuron will carry out. So on the basis of function, like what function these neurons will be carrying out in the body, these neurons can be of three types. On the basis of the function they carry out in the body. That is sensory, that can call as afferent neuron, sensory neuron, or we can say afferent neuron. Next is internential neuron, or we can say internential neuron. Okay, and third one is motor neuron or efferent neuron. Okay, so mainly three types of neurons are found in a body. What all these are? Sensory, that is afferent, and internential, that is in between these neurons, and the third one is the motor neuron, or we can say efferent neuron. So let us discuss each of them. So the sensory neurons or the afferent neurons are those which are found in the sensory organs. Now we know what sensory organs are: eyes, ear, skin, nose. So these are the different sensory organs. So these are the neurons which are found in these sensory organs, and their dendrons receive the nerve impulses from the nerve processes. So they will be receiving these impulses. They will be receiving these impulses. The dendrons of these neurons will be receiving the impulses from the nerve process of receptor cells. So we know that every sense organs will be having the receptor cells present at the surface. Every sensory organs will be having receptor cells present on the surfaces. Okay, now these receptor cells will be receiving this stimulus and will be generating nerve impulses, which will be perceived by these sensory neurons, and these sensory neurons will now carry this nerve, which is nerve impulse, from the dendrons to the axons, Okay, so we can say that the dendrons of the sensory neurons will receive the nerve impulses from the nerve processes of receptor cells. We'll be getting it from the receptor cells, while the axons of the sensory neurons forms a synapses with the dendron of next neuron. So we will see. So what happens? This is the one neuron. Okay, now it will be having these dendrons, so it will be receiving this impulses from this receptor cell. This is my receptive cell. So receptive cell will be perceiving the stimulus in change in the environment, which will be perceived by this, which will be receiving the signals will be received by this sensory neurons, and this will be taking this information inside the nucleus, inside the cell, which will be moving towards the which will be relaying to the next neuron. Here, this is the next neuron. Okay, so this axon will be responsible for transmitting this information to the next neuron. Okay, so that was about the sensory neuron. So what are sensory neurons? These are the neurons which are present at the base of the receptor cells, where they receive the impulses from the receptor cells through dendrons, and then they transmit this impulse to the next neuron through the axon. Okay, having a synapse as well. This may be naked. These neurons can be naked. It means it would not be having any type of encapsulation. Okay, these neurons can be naked or encapsulated. Okay, so that's about the sensory neurons. Next is the internential neurons. These are the neurons which are located in the dorsal horn of spinal cord. So we know spinal cord. Okay, so spinal cord is present dorsally. Okay, now these are the ones which are present within the spinal cord. Okay, and dorsally placed. And these are called as association neuron. These are also called as association neuron when their axons synapses with dendrons or motor neurons of same side. So when the axons of these neurons synapses means when they are coming in contact with. Okay, synapses means when they are coming in contact with. Okay, so when their axons synapses with the dendrons of motor neurons. So when the axons of internential neurons are getting synapsed with the dendrons of the motor neurons, when they are associated with the motor neurons, okay, then they are called as association neurons. And if it is, or we can say called as a commissural neuron, when their axon synapses with dendrons of motor neurons of opposite side. Okay, so when they are associated with the motor neurons of same side, they are called as association neuron. When they are associated with the motor neurons of same side, so we can say there are two sides basically. The one is basically from receptor to the CNS. The one side is the receptor to the CNS, and the other side is from CNS to the effector cell. So these are two directions. Okay, so when these internential neurons are of two types. These internential neurons are of two types, that is association neurons and commissural neurons. Commissural neurons. So what is association neurons? When the neurons are in such a manner, arranged in such a manner that the axon synapses with the dendron of motor neurons. Okay, the axons are basically synapses with the dendrons of motor neurons. So synapses are basically taking place in the same site. We can just understand that when the synapses are taking place in the same site, then it's called as association neuron. When the synapses taking place in the opposite direction, motor neurons of opposite direction, is called as commissural neuron. Okay, and last one is the motor or efferent neuron. And this intervention is also called as mixed neuron as well. Okay, motor neuron, or we can say efferent neuron. These are always present in the ventral horn of the spinal cord. So spinal cord also has got two parts. The one is dorsal horn, which is present towards the dorsal side, and the ventral horn. The dorsal horn will be consisting sensory neuron, and the ventral horn will be consisting this motor or efferent neuron. So they are always present in the ventral part of the spinal cord, and their axon ends into the muscle fibers of gland cells. We can say the axons of these cells, axons of these neurons will be ending into muscle fibers, or into the glandular cells, and hence they are responsible for this. They conduct the nerve impulses, and which will be responsible for bringing out some muscular changes. These are the one which are responsible for bringing out the muscular changes in the effector organ or the glands. Okay, so they will be responsible for either the contraction and relaxation of the muscles, so that the movement of the muscle may take place, or it may be responsible for the glandular secretion. It may be also responsible for initiating or terminating the glandular secretion. Okay, so that is about the different types of neurons. So it is sensory neurons, which can perceive which are basically present at the base of receptor cells and perceive the impulses, and then it transmits to the other neurons, okay, by synapses. Okay, next, internuncial neurons, which are basically attached to the motor neurons. If they are attached to the motor neurons on the same side, then they are called as association neurons, and if they are attached to the motor neurons of opposite side, that is called as commissural neuron. Okay, and the last one is the motor neuron, the one which are responsible for bringing out the muscular contraction and glandular secretion. So they will be having the axons which will terminating to the end of muscle fiber. Their end of axon will be in connection with the muscle fiber or the gland cells. So that was about the different types of neurons on the basis of the function. Now on the basis of the number of processes. On the basis of number of processes, these are the processes, neurites. On the basis of neurites, it can be of different types as well. So there are a lot of types, but mainly we will be discussing about 3 types of neurons on the basis of the nerve processes. Okay, so this can be unipolar neuron, bipolar neuron, and multipolar neuron. So on the basis of the nerve processes, these neurons can be of mainly 3 types. On the basis of nerve processes, these neurons can be of mainly 3 types, that is unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. Unipolar neurons, in these neurons only one nerve cell process arises from the cyton. So here you can see this is the unipolar one. So this is the cyton, and from this cyton only one of these nerve processes arising, okay, which acts as an axon. So here it will be acting as an axon because a thin and only one neuron process is arising. Okay, so it won't be having any dendrites. So this type of cells will not be having dendrites. You may note it down. Unipolar means one, and so it will be polar means only in single pole, so in single direction. So it will be arising. The neural process will be arising only in a single direction, which will be neuroaxon, which will be axonic process. Okay, and there are no dendrons are absent. Totally absent. Okay, these are found only in the early embryos, when the embryos are being formed in the developmental stage. Okay, during that particular period only these unipolar neurons are formed. Unipolar neurons are mainly found during the early embryonic stage only. The unipolar neuron of the adult give rise to single nerve processes. So in the adults, this unipolar neurons will be forming a neuron having single nerve processes, okay, which immediately divides into dendron and axon. So later on it will be dividing into dendrons and axons. Okay, such unipolar neurons are called as pseudo unipolar neurons. So in the case of adults, these neurons will be later on giving rise to the different processes, okay, which are basically axonic and dendritic both, okay, and hence they are called as pseudo unipolar neurons. Such type of pseudo unipolar neurons are found in the dorsal root ganglia of the spinal nerves and the roots of the cranial nerves as well. Some of the cranials, that is the cranial nerve number 5, 9 and 10. That's not of discussion right now. So pseudo unipolar, what are pseudo unipolar? Are the unipolar neuron of the adult which gives rise to single nerve process, which immediately divides into neuron, into dendron and axon. Okay, so such are called as unipolar neuron, but pseudo unipolar neurons. So that's not exactly unipolar, but sort of unipolar. That's why they are called as pseudo unipolar neuron. Next is the bipolar neurons. Okay, the name itself suggests that in these neurons the cyton gives rise to two nerve processes. So here you can see two nerve processes. This is on one direction and this is in opposite direction. So the cytoplasm will give rise to two nerve processes, out of which one acts as an axon. The one of this will be acting as an axon. So here this is the axon and over there this is the dendron. So one of this will be acting as an axon while other will be acting as a dendron. And these are found in the olfactory epithelium of nasal chamber. So olfactory epithelium is the one which is responsible for perceiving the smell. Okay, and so these are found in the olfactory epithelium of nasal chamber and even the retina of eye. The olfactory chamber is responsible for the perceiving smell, while the retina of eye is responsible for perceiving the vision. Okay, so these are found in the nasal chamber and the retina of eye, and this may be isopolar or heteropolar. Isopolar means when the dendron and axon, the size of both will be of same. So when the axons and dendrons are of same size, they are called as isopolar. When the axons and dendrons are of same size, they are called as isopolars. Well, when the heteropolar are the one having different size and dendrons bring irregular branch. Dendrons will be mostly irregularly branched. Okay, that is called as heteropolar. So when we say the dendrons are highly branched and axons are not that much branched, then it is called heteropolar. Now ganglia of 8th cranial nerve will be of bipolar in nature. Okay, we will see that. Next is the multipolar neurons. Multipolar neurons, the name itself suggests that in these neurons the cyton give rise to several nerve processes. In these neurons the cyton is responsible for giving rise to the several nerve processes, out of which one acts as axon. This will be acting as an axon, the main one, while other remaining will be acting as a dendrons. Okay, so it will be having multiple dendrons arising from the cyton and a single axon arising from the cyton. And these are found in the central nerve system and the ganglia of autonomic nerve system. These are found in the so we have seen three types of neurons, that is unipolar, bipolar and the multipolar, on the basis of the number of nerve processes. Okay, so that was about the types of neurons. Now let us see the nerve fibers. Okay, now let us see the nerve fibers. And the axons or the dendrons which we have seen, the axon or dendrons of a nerve cell are covered with one or two sheath is termed as a nerve fiber. So what is nerve fiber? When the axon or dendrons are covered with a two or more than two, of we can say one sometimes, sheath means a layer of covering. Okay, so when they are basically covered with layers of particular structures, then it's called as nerve fiber. The nerve fibers are of two types, that is modulated or myelinated. Okay, so modulated or myelinated, and so they are of two types, that is modulated, we can say modulated nerve fibers, which can also be called as myelinated, and other one is non-myelinated or non-modulated, depending on the structure. Okay, so let us see, the first one is a modulated nerve fiber. Let us first of all see the modulated nerve fiber. So the modulated nerve fiber typically consists of a central core. It will be consisting of a central core and the axis cylinder or neuraxis. So it will be consisting the axis cylinder, and this is the one which you can say central core, which will be consisting axis cylinder or neuraxis. Now this will be surrounded by two sheaths, inner thick medullary sheath and outer thin neurilemma. So here it will be having inner thick medullary sheath and outer will be having neurulema. Okay, so let us discuss both of them. So modulated will be having two sheath, will be consisting of two sheath, consisting the inner medullary sheath, inner myelination, okay, and the outer neurulema. Now let us see all of these three parts. So we can see the nerve fiber of modulated nerve fiber will be consisting three parts, that is the innermost core, that is axis cylinder. Then the second was the medullary sheath, or we can say the inner thick sheath, and the second sheath which is outermost is the neurulema. Let us see axis cylinder. So first of all, axis cylinder will be consisting the exoplasm. It's simply the axon or dendron of the nerve cell. It is simply the axon or the dendron of the nerve cell. We know that, okay. And this is the part which will be consisting the exoplasm or neuroplasm. So it contains longitudinal neurofibril and mitochondria. In its neuroplasm, it will be consisting mitochondria and the neurofibrils within this neuroplasm. Okay. Now it will be limited by a membrane called as axolemma. So axolemma is that membrane of axon. Okay, keep it in mind. And neurulema is the membrane of nerve fiber. So that's both is having different. Okay, both are having different differences. So limited by the cell's membrane called as axolemma. It's the axolemma that conducts the nerve impulses. The nerve impulses is being carried out or basically conducted at the axolemma. Keep it in mind. So exoplasm is the fluid present within the membrane, and this axolemma is that membrane of axon cylinder which is responsible for conducting this impulse. Okay. Now second layer, which is the layer which is surrounding this axon cylinder. Axis cylinder is the medullary sheath. The medullary sheath is composed of a shining whitey fatty substance called as myelin. This medullary sheath is also called as myelin sheath. Okay, this medullary sheath will be also called as myelin sheath. So over here you can see there is a myelin sheath present over here. It's basically the layering on this axon. This is the yellow part is called as axon cylinder, and this is surrounded by the first layer, that is axon myelin sheath, or we can say medullary sheath. Okay, so this medullary sheath is nothing but the whitish shining fatty substance called as myelin. Now the myelin is actually a type of lipid. Myelin is basically a type of lipid which is secreted by the cells which are associated with this, like this Schwann cells. They are secreted by the cells associated with the neuron. They are the cells secreted. These are a type of lipid or fatty substance which is secreted by the associated cells with the neurons. Okay. Now this myelin sheath or medullary sheath is responsible for forming insulating layer. This insulation is responsible for preventing the loss of energy. So whenever this nerve impulse is generated and transmitted from one part to another, there are chances that it may lose out its energy. And this energy has to be prevented. This loss of energy has to be prevented by forming a insulating layer which is made by the myelin sheath, called as medullary sheath or the myelin sheath. Now it will be continuously found in the fibers around the central nervous system. In the case of central nervous system, it will be found continuously around throughout the axons. So in the case of peripheral nervous system, there will be some points where this myelin sheath is not present. There will be some points on the neurons on the axon where this myelin sheath is not present. That point or that site is called as node of Ranvier. This site of this point is called as node of Ranvier. So what is the node of Ranvier? It is the part where the central point where the myelin sheath is absent. Okay. Now the part of nerve fiber between two successive nodes. So this node of Ranvier, there will be two successive nodes, like see here. This is the node of Ranvier here, and this is node of Ranvier. So the part of axon between two successive nodes is called as internode. What is internode? So it's that part of axon between two successive nodes. Is called as internode. Okay, and that was about the nerve fiber. Okay, nerve fiber, that's about the medullary sheath of the nerve fiber. So next one is the neurulema. So you can see this is the normal nerve fiber, okay, having this myelinated axons, okay. So all these nerves will be coming together to form a nerve fiber as well. Now next is the neurulema. Now neurulema is a tubular sheath. It consists of a tubular sheath called as Schwann cells mainly. It's called as Schwann cells. So here you can see myelin sheath just below this myelin. After the myelin sheath, these are the Schwann cells which will be forming a tubular structure around this axon. So neurulema consists of a tubular sheath cells. It's called as tubular sheath, which is basically surrounding this, which will form by the Schwann cells, which are placed end to end. So here we don't have any gap present between the Schwann cells. Here we do not have any gap present between these Schwann cells. And neurulema is continuous over the nodes of Ranvier as well. So even the nodes of Ranvier will be enclosed by this neurulema. So keep it in mind. So what are neurulema? It consists of a tubular sheath cells. These are the type of layering cells which are forming a layer on the axon. Okay. So neurulema are the tubular sheath cells which are called as Schwann cells, which will be placed end to end without forming any distance between them. Okay, and this neurulema is continuous over the nodes of Ranvier as well. Now the function of Schwann cells is to produce a myelin sheath around the neuraxis. So as we have seen, the myelin sheath is present. This myelin sheath is being synthesized by these Schwann cells, and that will be deposited on the axon. Okay. Now the function of Schwann cells is to produce the myelin sheath around the neuraxis. The medullated nerve fibers within the brain, these are the ones which are found in the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, the myelin sheath or medullated nerve fibers which are found in the brain and spinal cords will not be having neurulema. So you may note it down. So the medullated nerve fibers which are found in the brain and spinal cord, that is the central nerve system, will be not having neurulema. It means they will not be having the Schwann cells. So the Schwann cells are absent in the central nerve system, but instead of that they have an incomplete covering. They will be having a incomplete covering of neuroglia cells. So neuroglia cells are the cells which are associated with the neurons present in the central nerve system, and the Schwann cells are the one which is not present in the central nervous system. They will be present in the peripheral nervous system. Okay, so instead of the myelinated sheath, instead of Schwann cells, the cells of the central nervous system will be having neuroglia cells, which is responsible for again producing the myelin sheath probably. Okay, so the cells of the Schwann cells are absent in the central nervous system but present in the other peripheral nervous system. So the neurulema present around the peripheral nerve fibers enables them to regenerate after injury. So the main other function of the Schwann cell, apart from providing them myelin sheath, is that they will be also helping them to regenerate. They will be also helping them to repair. So during any injury, it may basically possible that they may get ruptured or they may get some sort of injured. So that Schwann cells which are present surrounding this fibers will be also responsible, enable them to regenerate after an injury. Nerve fibers in the brain and spinal cord do not regenerate after injury. So this is something important. So nerve cells are present in the central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord, will not be able to regenerate once after the injury, because they will not be having the Schwann cells. They will not be having the Schwann cells, and instead of Schwann cells, they will be having the neuroglia cells. Okay, and that's all. Okay, the medullated nerve fibers occur in the white matter of the brain and the spinal nerve cord and in the cranial and the spinal nerves. Okay, so we'll see what the white matter and the gray matter is. That was about the neurulema. So what we have seen? We have seen medullated nerve fibers of two types, medullated or non-medullated. The medullated is the one which will be covering by the axon. Axon will be covered by two layers, that is the medullary sheath or myelin sheath and the neurulema. Medullary sheath or the myelin sheath will be responsible for which will be forming a myelin or a waxy substance will be surrounding this axon, responsible for preventing the loss of energy or nerve impulses. Okay, and that site or the points at which this myelin sheath is absent is called as node of Ranvier. It's called as node of Ranvier. Okay, and the part between those two successive nodes is called as internodes. While the neurulema is the outermost layer, which is mainly tubular in structure and which is formed by the tubular sheath cells called as Schwann cells, which is called as So this will be formed by the Schwann cells, which will be responsible for secreting this myelin sheath. Okay, and they will be also present continuous around the nodes of Ranvier as well. Now these are absent. They will be responsible for regeneration, and we can regenerate after the injury, and they're absent in the CNS, and hence the nerves which are present in the CNS are not able to regenerate. Okay, and they're present in the peripheral nervous system. Instead of Schwann cells, the central nervous system nerves will be having neuroglial cells. Next is non-modulated nerve fibers. Non-modulated nerve fiber consists of an axis cylinder enclosed by neurulima and connective tissue. So it will be consisting of a axis cylinder enclosed by neurulima and connective tissue. These fibers appears gray in color in a fresh state. The non-modulated nerve fibers occurs in the autonomic nervous system. They are mainly found in the autonomic nervous system, where due to the presence of this connective tissues, they are appearing in the gray in color. Okay, so their functions will be discussed in the later sections. So what we have done the nervous system, what is it, and types of nervous system, simple and complicated in the different organs, in the different organisms. Okay, and then we have started with the structure of neuron, that is having cytone and the axon and dendrons. Okay, and then we have seen the types of neurons depending on the function and depending on the nerve processes, and then we have done the nerve fibers and their types, that is modulated and non-modulated. That was all for right now, for time being. In the next lecture, we will be starting the functioning of neuron. Or we can say biochemical aspects of this nervous physiology, that how this neuron will be responsible for generating impulse and conducting impulse throughout the body. That's all. Thank you.